Hi, welcome to Boldly Breed Basics Video Orientation by Marin Humane Behavior and Training Department. My name is Dawn Covell. I'm the Director of Behavior and Training, and I will be your guide for this video orientation only. You will have an instructor for the course, and take a note of your instructor's email address and telephone number because you will need to send some information along to her. This video orientation is going to discuss some housekeeping issues, the management relationship triad, what to bring to class, and we're going to summarize the information for you. The video orientation that you are starting to watch right now is going to be about an hour long. You will also receive some orientation supplemental materials so that you don't have to take copious notes and you have some information you can follow along on this video. We will be giving you some homework assignments that should be completed prior to your first week in class, and we encourage you to practice. You have to practice in order to acquire the skills. The right amount of time to practice are multiple very short sessions. You don't want to have a marathon half-hour session and just get everybody frustrated. Keep it short, simple, and successful. The information that we need from you prior to class is the vaccination history for your dog and your class profile. The class profile should have been sent to you as a download with your registration materials, and it is a bunch of information about your dog, and we use it to tailor your class experience so that your dog has the best possible learning environment. The vaccination history and the class profile should be scanned and emailed to your instructor prior to class. Additionally, we have dog license information on our website for you. And if you're in Marin County, having a dog license is the law. You will see in your registration materials that there is a location listed for your class. We do have multiple locations for classes, indoor, outdoor, in Novato, outside of Novato. So take a very good look at that, and if you have any questions, please do call your instructor to confirm. We recommend that you arrive early, particularly for your first class. The reasoning is twofold. Number one, you need to take some time and find where your classroom is, especially if you are new to our campus. Additionally, it is kind to let your dog acclimate to a new environment. You will get a better, more relaxed training experience if you take an extra 10 minutes or so, come to class early, walk around campus, and just let your dog sniff and get comfortable and observe what's happening. We do have leash rules on campus, so please don't ever take your dog off leash on campus. We do have shelter dogs of unknown temperament, so we require that everybody have their dogs on leash. There are also some fenced-in areas, fenced-in parks, and those are also for the shelter dogs. Marin Humane does not have any public dog park facilities, although if you Google them in Marin, there are several options elsewhere. The check-in process, when you do come to class, you'll bring your dog, and you will come and enter class and go straight to a workstation. You don't need to stop off at the desk or check in. We prefer that you take your dog and all of your materials, find a comfortable workstation, and get settled, and somebody will come by and check you in. We're trying to avoid having the dogs gather in close proximity up by the desk. Here's a campus map if you haven't been on campus before. The most likely location for your class is either the pavilion, if you have a dog, is either the pavilion or over the bridge at Halden Park or Katy Park. If you have the opportunity to take an agility or flyball class with us, you can see those would be out on the sports field. We're going to dip into the management relationship training triad, and we're going to start with management because that's where you have to start. Most of us don't have the opportunity to adopt or acquire an already trained dog, and management is where we all start. Let's talk about crates. Crates are extremely useful. They're a fantastic house training tool. Your dog is unwilling to soil the area where he has to reside. So we use that to our benefit to help house train puppies or new dogs. It's also an environmental cue. Once trained, it's also an environmental cue for the dog to relax and just chill out. Some of us neglected to get the model of dog that has an off switch, and we have to crate train our dogs in order to say, you know what, it's time to take a nap. Just like a toddler, sometimes they don't realize they're tired and they won't settle down. The crate is also terrific. Having a crate trained dog is also terrific if you need to travel. There are many portable crates that are quite lovely. However, you want to make sure that you have trained your dog in the crate in a plastic or wire crate before you use some of the fold-up models. Your dog needs to have the experience of perhaps trying to get out and being unsuccessful before you use some of the canvas or other lighter weight crates. The crate is also extremely useful for behavior modification. You may, once your dog hits adolescence or something might happen in the environment where your dog starts to develop a behavior problem, and some element of crate use is probably going to be part of your behavior modification plan, and it is to your benefit if you have already trained the crate piece of it. The crate is also just great for household management. Many of us have children, elderly parents, guests in and out. It's great to proactively use the crate for your dog to keep him safe and to keep him stress-free. It's very difficult if you've got activity in the house that you need to pay attention to and still pay proper attention to your dog. So it is a fine thing to do to give him a little break in his crate. We've got a couple of quick tips for you for crate training. Some people find the crate off-putting or overwhelming, and really it doesn't have to be either. Many dogs grow to enjoy their crates very, very much. So if you do it right, it just becomes another place for them to relax. So one of the easiest things that you can do is you can feed your dog all of his meals in the crate. So what you'll get probably is a dog who sees you starting to prepare his meal and he makes a beeline for his crate. And that makes it very easy for you to take the opportunity and just label that behavior, crate or kennel, however you want it to be. You may also want to have multiple crates in your house, especially when your dog is new or young. Your dog might be sleeping in his crate in your bedroom, and you might also like to have one in the kitchen family room area for management during busy times when you're making meals or kids are doing homework or whatever. But you might consider having multiple crates, and you might even consider having a third crate in your car. Having crated dogs in the car is the safest for both you and them. Of course, not all of us have cars big enough for the crates that our dogs need, but it is something that you should consider. As far as crate size goes, you want your dog to be able to walk into the crate, turn around, and lie down comfortably. He doesn't have to be able to, stretch out immensely, but he needs to be comfortable. And you might have a dog who isn't full grown yet, in which case you can do one of two things. You can either buy a couple of crates as they size up, so to speak, or you can get the crate that fits his size when he's going to be full grown. And in that case, you might need to put some sort of divider to block off the extra space in the crate so that the dog doesn't use part of the crate for his bathroom facilities and the other crate for his living facilities. And really the best thing you can do as far as the crate goes is use it routinely and don't necessarily associate it with you leaving. So you should put him in the crate multiple times when you're home, and consider it just another dog bed. You want to think of it that way, and you want him to think of it that way. Habituation is one of the most effective behavior modification and training strategies, and that requires some routine use. Here is your first homework assignment. It's actually a crate training assignment, and it's very easy and it's pretty fun. So you take a handful of treats, really good ones, and show your dog what you have. Then you take the crate with the dog on the outside of the crate, take the treats and toss them inside the crate, and you can even close the crate door. your dog is going to try and get the treats and look at them, and finally they're going to say, hey, let me in which case you happily oblige, say, there you go, head on in, let them go in, eat their treats, and while they're in there, add additional treats from the side or the back to encourage them to move all the way to the back of the crate. And go ahead and just let them go back out again. If you have enough time to crate train nicely, then do it the nice way. And don't shut them in until they're ready to be shut in. It's important during training that you try and align your dog's interests with your own, meaning that you want the dog in the crate, figure out a way to have the dog want to go into the crate. You don't really want to have a lot of conflict in your management or training plan. X pens are another handy tool that people like to use. You can use them similarly to crates with a couple of exceptions. First off, you should be aware that they take up more space than a crate, and some dogs will be able to figure out how to escape from the X pens. And once they start escaping, it might not be a good tool for you anymore. But surprisingly, a lot of dogs, especially if they start as puppies, they won't try and get out of their X pens. So you might be one of those lucky people. The X pen is just another way to kind of control where your dog goes in the house and what he's doing, and household management, house training, they're great for that. They just do take up a bit more space. Tie downs are another useful management tool. They are also great for house training. So if you are not paying 100% attention to your puppy or unhouse trained dog, they should be in some sort of management situation, either an X pen, a crate, or a tie down. Otherwise, they might sneak off and have an accident, and every time your dog has an accident, it just sets your house training back more than you would like. Tie downs are also good for behavior modification. You can see a picture there of what the tie down looks like. It's about, maybe 3 feet long, depending on the size of the dog. Shorter for a small dog and longer for a bigger dog, but they're not very long. There's just enough space for your dog to comfortably lie down on his bed, turn around, and get comfortable. You don't want to give them too much rope, as it were, because they can get themselves in trouble. Additionally, you want to make sure that you choose the location for your tie down carefully, such that there isn't any furniture nearby, because the dog could get tangled in the furniture, get up on the furniture, and that just isn't safe. So make sure there's plenty of space. There are a couple of things to be aware of with tie downs that might make them not a good option for you. One is that they're not great for multiple dog situations. If one dog is not on a tie down and the other one is, the dog that is on a tie down doesn't have the option to move away or escape, and that can cause some defensive issues. And the same situation with children. If your children are too small to reliably leave the dog alone when he's on a tie down, then it might not be a good option for you, because again, the dog cannot escape a child or another dog coming into his space, and that can cause some problems. The tie down is also not a tool that you can use when you leave the house. The tie down is a tool that needs to be used with supervision. However, the benefits are that you can pick it up and move it from room to room. You can have an eye bolt into the wall in a stud in a couple different rooms, and the tie down can just move from room to room. Baby gates are another really useful management tool. Again, you can use them for house training. When you're doing house training, you want your dog to have a small area. The smaller the area, the more quickly your dog will be house trained. You can expand his area as he becomes more reliable, but if you give him the full run of the house right away, then you might find him using hidden corners of your house as his bathroom facilities. And he just doesn't know any better because he has too much space. The baby gates are also quite useful for behavior modification, particularly around the front door. If you have front door issues where the dog charges the front door and barks and causes trouble, you might want to prevent him from having access to that area or those windows by using a baby gate. They're also great for household management. Perhaps you just want to you have an open floor plan and you want to keep your dog in the kitchen. The they're good for that as well. So to use space, to manage the space, these are all good things to use for baby gates. Another great management tool that people might not think of as a management tool is basically physical exercise. Your dog really needs to be tired out at least once a day by physical exercise. And you want to get creative about this. You can take them on dog walks or water play, or teach them body awareness exercises using canine fitness. You can play with them yourself using tug toys or balls. You can have a doggy play date. It's really important to have a variety of activities for your dog to do, because it's more fun, more interesting, and it's always better to cross-train. Mental exercise is equally important, and it's also equally tiring to your dog. So there are times when it's not very conducive for you to take your dog outside, and you can come up with some things to do in the house. Really great games are scenting games or hunting games where you hide things, they have to find things, and training. Dog training is mentally exhausting for your dog, and you can use that as a form of mental exercise. We're going to show you a little hunt game video, which is pretty interesting. So why don't you take some time to check that out?
This trick is called an AKC Find It, and can also be used to teach your dog or puppy hunting games for enrichment. Let your dog sniff the treat before you place it under a cup. When placing the treat, only cover half of it at first to make sure it is easy for your dog. You may want to use a bigger piece or smell your treat to make it exciting for your dog at the beginning. Let your dog try to get the treat with his paw or nose. The goal is simply find the treat hidden underneath the object. You can also ask your dog for a sit or down to practice your impulse control behaviors while you set up the treat and the cup. Then give him the cue like hunt or search as you point to the cup to start the game. Once he's good at the cup version, try it with other objects such as a toy or boxes or other novel items.
Another management device are chew toys. If you have a young dog or puppy, then they're going through teething, and so they chew a lot of things to help ease the pressure in their gums. What you're looking for are durable. You want a variety of different chew toys. You can have a couple out for a few days, then you pick those up, throw them in the washer, get some new chew toys out. Rubbery is nice. There's different toys that you can put food stuffing in, and these toys are self-entertaining. The dog will chew them or lick them or eat the food out of them. And again, you want to have a variety. You want to rotate them throughout the week, and make sure to wash them as well. Some other enrichment toys are snuffle mats. Snuffle mats are sort of hiding places for little tiny treats. So you get your snuffle mat, you put some tiny treats throughout the crevices, and you let your dog have a little sniffing exercise. In fact, snuffle mats are a pretty good thing to bring to class if you have a dog who gets bored easily, so that he has an alternative behavior other than thinking about barking and such in class. So snuffle mats are great. There's lots of do-it-yourself videos online for snuffle mats, so that's something to check into. There's also some great food and puzzle toys. There's a very wide variety, and again, you want to have a couple different kinds and perhaps rotate them. But these are all, really about hunting and scenting and figuring out how to get things out. So we're back to our mental exercise.
This is Baloo's first try on his own with a food puzzle toy. When you introduce a puzzle toy, make it very easy the first time so that the puppy learns where the food is. Then fill it up and enjoy the show.
Another pretty actually complicated topic, more complicated than it needs to be, is what type of gear should you walk your dog in? If you have a puppy, we really prefer that you use harnesses, and harnesses can also be quite good for big dogs as well. There are a variety of different kinds. There's harnesses that have a front clip on the chest, harnesses that have a back clip along the dogs, between the dog's shoulders, and there are the vest type that are predominantly for smaller dogs or puppies. The front clip helps prevent pulling. So if you're getting a harness predominantly for pulling, you want to find one that has a good front clip system. The back clip can be useful for a variety of other different things. There's some behavior modification techniques and such that use the back clip, so that is an option as well. But I would encourage you to make sure you have a front clip, because that's really going to help with the pulling. Another tool that you may or may not be aware of are long lines. And a long line is essentially a long, relatively lightweight leash type piece of equipment. It is a tool that you use in the transition from having an on-leash dog to an off-leash dog, because you don't really want to just take your leash off and hope for the best. A long line would be something that drags on the ground, and you don't use it exactly like a leash. You just use it as an emergency stopping device if your dog is off leash and you call him and he declines to respond. So you can step on your long line, get his attention, and call him back, and prevent him from going up to harass or visit whoever it was he was going to go visit. It's really important to know and remember that if you have an off-leash dog, you should never let him go up to a dog who's on leash. It is, well, it's impolite, number one. And number two, it puts the dog who's on leash in an it's kind of stressful position, really, because they can't get away if they want to. So it can cause problems. Long lines come in a variety of length, width, and material. The picture showed here is biothane, which is a pretty nice product because it doesn't get moldy, it can get wet, and of course it comes in nice designer colors. You want to get as lightweight as you can get away with the size of your dog. And the length of it is also going to be dependent on how fast and how far your dog ranges vis-a-vis how fast you are. So, a really comfortable length is 20 feet, but you might need to go up to 25 or 30 feet if your dog really ranges quite a bit. Here's just an example of management techniques in action. You've got a tired puppy who has been exercised, obviously. She has had a toy and she's got a drag line on. So we're going to talk about indoor drag lines, but she's got it all going on in terms of management techniques. And actually, if you knew this puppy, you would understand why she needed all of them. An indoor drag line is really handy for puppies in particular. And basically, it's just a short, very lightweight leash without a handle that has been clipped to your dog's harness inside, so that if you need to catch him, he's easier to catch. If you need to move him off the sofa, you don't have to go up and have that battle right up with the collar by his face. It's also, you might want to tether the puppy to you so that he can't sneak off and have a house training accident. So there's just a lot of options there's a lot of, an indoor drag line can be really useful. Gotcha is another exercise to practice. And basically, it's just teaching the dog that from time to time, somebody might need to grab your collar and it's okay. So if you don't teach your dog that this is an okay and not scary thing, they can be a little concerned if you try and grab their collar. So the way you teach gotcha is you have some treats ready in your hand. With your other hand, you grab the dog's collar, you say gotcha, and then you offer them a treat. So basically your dog says, okay, someone's going to grab my collar, which I really don't like, but it always comes with a nice payoff, so maybe it's not so bad. And gotcha just becomes the verbal cue that means, hey, I'm about ready to go, heads up, I'm about ready to grab your collar. So this is a little training video that shows you how to work on gotcha.
From time to time, we need to grab a dog or a puppy by the collar, which can be disconcerting to the dog. A little advanced work takes the stress out of collar grabs. Say the word gotcha and reach for the dog's collar. With the other hand, immediately let him nibble on some treats.
Gotcha.
Gently move him around by the collar while giving treats.
So there are a lot of outdoor hazards to be aware of. Some of them are you probably are very well aware of, and some of them you might not have considered. But ticks, bees, and wasps are both annoying and could be a health hazard if you have a dog who has allergy issues. Mushrooms, which are particularly prevalent when it rains. There are some extremely poisonous mushrooms. So if you have a new puppy and it's your first winter, you should probably walk your property and take out any mushrooms that pop up. Foxtails in the summer are a huge problem. If you go off-leash hiking or go hiking in grassy areas, you should comb through your dog's coat and check between their toes when you get back to make sure they didn't pick up any foxtails, because they burrow into the skin and cause a lot of problems. On very hot days, the asphalt could burn their paws, so that's something to be aware of. Other animals' feces, even dog feces, can carry disease and parasites. Some light-colored dogs can get sunburn. And, particularly with the bully breeds who are brachycephalic, which means that they have a very short muzzle, they can overheat quite quickly. Random puddles can also harbor giardia or motor oil, so you don't necessarily want your dog to drink from random pools of water out on the street. There are also plenty of hazards for your puppy or dog to get into around the house as well. There are certain types of mulch that are toxic to your dog. There are poisonous plants. Black mold is a problem. If you have an older house, lead paint is something to be aware of. Cooked bones are never good. You can research raw food diets and how to use raw bones, but you will never want to give your dog a cooked bone. Chocolate is toxic in sufficient quantity. Puppies chewing on electrical cords can have a nasty jolt, and pooled antifreeze can be a problem. So that covers quite a few management techniques, and we're going to move on to relationship. And relationship really just refers to how you and your dog feel about each other. And yeah, it matters. It really matters a lot. Particularly when you want to start doing more complicated things or off-leash exercises. You really want your dog to want to come to you. So we're going to talk a lot about relationship and how to create a good one. But basically, you can start by just having mutual respect between you and your dog. Sometimes as human beings, we get a bit species-centric and think that human beings are highly superior to dogs, and in many cases, that's not true. So start from a place of mutual respect. You can expect companionship and you need to provide companionship. Acknowledge that your dog has emotions. Some dogs have really big feelings. And learn communication. And communication is really, for dogs, it's body language, and for us, it's verbal. And dog training bridges the gap between those two forms of communication. So just remember that dogs are not native speakers of English. They're native speakers of body language. So one of the main things, one of the easiest ways to start creating a great relationship with your dog is to just play with him. Not only can play become a training tool or reward, but it's just a cooperative play is fun. And you can teach your dogs a lot of really useful skills when you play with them. So there's balls, there's discs, squeaky toys, tug toys, flirt poles. There's lots of ways to play with your dog. But one of the nicest ways to play with your dog, or a very useful way to play with your dog, and bully breeds generally love to play tug, is tug. There has been some negative press about tug, but there doesn't have to be if you play it correctly. We're going to give you a little bit of homework, and that homework is on teaching your dog to play tug and to give up the toy. So take a moment and take a look at the following video that discusses playing tug.
To teach a dog to find toy play with people rewarding, make sure you have the right kind of toy. The toy should be soft and fun to bite with a lot of motion. The handler should keep the toy relatively low to the ground, constantly moving it around and away from the dog. The intensity of the tugging should be initiated by the dog, and a little game of keep away is always fun too.
So another way to build your relationship is through food, meals, praise, and touch. So productive use of meals, what does this mean? It means that if you put all of your food in a kibble bowl and put it on the floor twice a day and say, have at it, that you are wasting a lot of calories that you could be employing more effectively. So a couple of examples of effective implementation of meals or food are using meals in stuffed enrichment toys. So that they have to work to get their food. So for example, a great way is to prepare the food, stuff the food into a Kong toy and put the dog and the Kong toy into the crate. And the dog will it'll take the dog much longer to get the food out of the Kong toy, which is good because we have eliminated so much of the process of acquiring food from what a wild canine would use, that we use toys and other methods to put back some of the challenge into their eating. So stuffing Kongs is great, or using those calories for training. So your dog doesn't gain weight because you're giving them training treats. Just use their meals. You can use their meals to help them acclimate to the crate. So there's lots and lots of ways to use the meals to further your management or your training, and it would behoove you to learn, and we'll help you with that, what all of those ways are. So use your dog's calories productively. You also want to build value for praise. So you can use food. If your dog is a real food hound, but he doesn't really care that much about touching, you can help him learn that touching is fun. So basically what you would do is you would pet your dog a little bit, give them some food. Pet your dog a little bit, give them some food. You're essentially pairing the good vibes that come from getting delicious food with your handling or touching. So that's a good thing another way to use food as well. And touch in general. Touch is something that you should pay attention to because even affectionate dogs don't always want you touching them. And part of the whole mutual respect equation is learning to understand when your dog would be receptive and enjoy your touch and when he would rather be doing something else. So for example, some dogs, when they're in training mode, they are not interested in cuddles. So you're going to learn how to watch your dog's body language and tell when he is receptive to being touched or when he finds it enjoying and when he doesn't. So we have a few videos about this. So you can take some time and look at them and think about them. But it really is about also learning how to assess your dog's emotional state and understand what you're doing to contribute to it beneficially or negatively.
boy. This is a favorite position of his. Pushing his face, his head into my legs. Good boy. Good boy. What a good boy you are. What a good boy. Yeah. Oh, good. Good boy. Shedding. You're crazy. Good boy. Wow, shedding. You're really shedding. You're really shedding. You're shedding. You're shedding. You're shedding. Tell me about it. Tell me all about it. This is fun, isn't it? You fun? Oh, shedding. I'm going to have to vacuum now. Oh, good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. There's my good boy. Another favorite position of his. Good jobby. Good jobby. Good boy. Good boy. Okay. Here's a session working with Lil with just giving food, no voice, no praise. And you can see that she's trying to figure out what we're doing. I'm going to offer some tricks. And I'm just trying to give her food for not reaching, trying not to time it so that she thinks she's being rewarded for the pawn shake. And you can see how she's showing me something's bugging her about that rear leg. So I look, end of session. This is the end of the video where Lil was offering tricks. And it continued into me introducing touch into a training session. And this is a very different experience for most dogs than just introducing touch in day-to-day life. And this is in slow-mo, so you can see everything Lil's doing very clearly. She is trying to get away from touch, but not quite leaving the vicinity. And then she's thinking, you know what? I would like some more food, so I'm going to come back over here. And she's having conflicted feelings, right? She wants to engage with the food, but she's not so into the touch. Here's the same video just in real time so you can see how quickly all of that's happening. It's really important to see how our dogs act differently when in training mode versus day-to-day life. And this is a perfect example of that.
So we're going to talk about relationship and socialization. So socialization is an area that many people actually find very confusing. They consider it essentially to be teaching your dog to be social with other dogs. And while that is part of it, it is a small part of it, and it isn't necessarily encouraging your dog to say hi to every single dog he sees. So socialization should really be learning about the world and experiencing the world in a positive manner so that things that might potentially be scary are just part of the background. So novel items. It might be a garbage truck. It might be a woman with a stroller. So there's a lot of different things that your dog should be exposed to in a pleasant and rewarding manner. And you want to observe your dog and see if the dog is comfortable or not comfortable. And if he isn't comfortable, you need to take steps to make him feel better about that thing in the environment so the next time he sees it, it's not a big deal. So novel items are really important. Getting out in the world is very important. Having outings. And I use the word outings rather than dog walks because an outing might have some component of complexity or adventure. It's not just going on the same old walk from point A to point B. It might be having a destination and going swimming or walking over to a friend's house or someone that your dog likes. So outings are important, and it really is getting comfortable with people and dogs. And what you're really shooting for is socially appropriate as opposed to excessively social. So if you have a young dog, you definitely do not want to encourage them to go up and say hello to every dog that they come across. First of all, not every dog wants to say hi to your dog. In fact, many adult dogs are not interested in meeting a lot of new dogs. And secondly, your dog might not need as many doggy friends as you think he needs. Some dogs are extroverts and some dogs are introverts, and that's okay. So you don't want to force social interactions that might end up turning into bad experiences. Ultimately, socialization is about trust. If your dog is in a situation that he makes him uncomfortable or fearful, are you somebody who helps him out, or are you somebody who pushes him further into being worried or frightened? Another important thing to consider along with socialization is situational awareness. And this context, it's mostly used in the context of, taking your dog off leash. You might have a dog who you want to take off leash. You've done some training, but not tons. So you want to take a look at the situation or the conditions under which you want to have your dog off leash. Is it fairly secure? Is it relatively benign? If your dog, if he doesn't come when he's called, is that going to be a problem? So if you always want to think about how much training your dog has and whether it's sufficient for the situation that you're in. If the answer is no to this, then you want to use your management techniques. So let's just talk about bully breeds just a little bit because, this is a special course for bully breeds. And, what are they? Bully breeds are not bully breeds because they behave in a bullying fashion. That has been sort of a negative implication that isn't the case. Basically, it's based on their Molosser ancestry. These dogs originated in Greece, at least the form of them. That's what most bully breeds have in common, is that they are fairly large and muscular, with pendant ears and short muzzles. So it's about their ancestry as opposed to behavior. Dog-to-dog play is really important, especially if you're going to be socializing your dog with other dogs. You want to make sure you're teaching them the right things. And bully breeds can be a little bit more difficult with the dog-to-dog play due to their play style. But in general, what you want to look for are soft, floppy bodies. If you've got a couple dogs playing together, is there role reversal? Does one guy do some chasing and then turn around and allows himself to be chased? Is one guy on the top and then on the bottom? Are there natural breaks in the play? If the intensity and the tempo of the play starts to increase, do the dogs naturally take a break or do they need help? Are they mirroring each other's body language? If one of them plops down into a play bow, does the other one reciprocate? So there's a lot of visual cues that will help you learn whether the play session is enhancing your dog's social skills or contributing to something that might be potentially problematic later down the road. We've got a couple of videos that we can show you that show some good body language and some not so good body language.
While playing comes naturally to puppies, they still need to learn how to play appropriately with other dogs. The best case scenario is an appropriate adult dog playing with a puppy. Good adult mentors are extremely tolerant with very young puppies, yet provide more structure weekly as the puppy matures. The nice things about this play session are the relatively low energy and arousal level, the reciprocity of the play, and the safety and trust the puppy feels with this adult as evidenced by his vulnerable positioning.
Cute.
Very social.
No, Or not
Artie.
polite and respectful. That was very social.
Can take a right cross with no problem.
Oh, look at that fly move. That was brilliant.
So, inappropriate play behaviors are also important for you to be able to recognize. They tend to be characterized by stiff body, or sometimes it's just stillness. If another dog or a person is very, very still, that can be a warning signal to other dogs and they become cautious. Undue focus, too much, looking too much, too long can cause one or the other dog to react. Or sustained high arousal, what that means is that the play continues to escalate in intensity and tempo without appropriate breaks being taken. If it continues to escalate, that can prove to be problematic. Or a lack of reciprocity, where one dog is always on the bottom or one dog is always the guy being chased. Nobody always wants to be the bottom guy getting chased, so you want reciprocity. Here's a little bit, we can show you a little video of an adult female helping to school an impetuous younger guy, let's just say.
This adolescent male initiates a play session by jumping on Jiva, the adult female's head. He gets a growl and a body freeze in warning for his troubles. He wisely retreats, is forgiven, and play resumes. The play is rough and he continues to jump on her, but play is mostly reciprocal until they take a break where he does a shake-off to relax himself. Play breaks are good and should be encouraged. Jiva starts to take more control of the play by forcing him onto the floor, pinning him very briefly, showing all of her teeth punctuated by a sharp bark. You wouldn't want to correct a female for growling or flashing her teeth, as these are merely communication. Our young rake isn't taking the play nicely hint and keeps jumping on Jiva's head. Finally, he is pinned with a soft warning as evidenced by her turning her head away. His final mistake is a short, defiant snap at Jiva's face, which brings out a strong correction on her part. Lots of barking and posturing with no injury done, save to the male's rumpled pride. Finally, Jiva asserts her position by walking over to his towel and toy, sniffing him and demonstrating she could take the toy if she so desired. Jiva's work is done.
Bully breeds have their own play style, and this is actually one of the reasons why they sometimes get themselves into a bit of trouble. Bully breeds are different. I mean, each type of dog has their own play style, and sometimes they're not particularly compatible. Excuse me. Some bully breeds like to do a lot of body slamming, and their rough play can be very off-putting to other dogs. Another type of dogs, maybe a herding breed, might find body slamming to be highly offensive and they might react negatively to it. And the bully breed is like, hey, this is how I play. The other thing about the bully breeds that gets them into a lot of trouble is that they like to stare. And staring can be very confrontational to other types of dogs. So one of the things that you're going to work on in class quite a bit is learning to observe your dog, and is he staring? And how do I change that behavior so that he doesn't do that? Because it can be extremely provocative to other dogs. The other thing about some of the bully breeds is they have a lack of personal space. They get right up close and personal, and other dogs find that off-putting as well. There is a certain level of polite space, and unfortunately each individual dog has their own, and breed types have their own as well, and bully breeds tend to get right up there. So that's another thing to be aware of. Dog parks. The good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, dog parks can be very problematic, and many trainers will caution you away from them, justifiably. You know, one of the problems are that if there are too many dogs in the park, that can create little mini packs, and packing up can be quite problematic. If you're going to be in a dog park situation, you really want it to be not that many dogs, hopefully dogs that your dog has played with before, or dogs that play with compatible styles. But you know, you don't know what you're getting when you go in the dog park, and you really don't want your dog to have a bad experience, either to pick up bad skills or to have a bad experience and then that later translates to a behavior problem. So that's really the biggest issue, is you're really rolling the dice with your dog's emotional experience in a dog park. So the good is that you might find another dog to play with, and they might be really well matched, and they have a ton of exercise, and you get to sit there and chat while your dog exhausts himself. So you can be thrilled about that. However, you really don't want to sit there and chat. You want to kind of be an active participant in terms of knowing what's going on and what's happening with your dog. The bad is that, of course, you don't know what to expect when you go in there. They're dogs of unknown temperaments and unknown behaviors, and not all owners are responsible about having an appropriate dog in the dog park. Not all dogs are appropriate for dog parks, and in fact, the minority are. The ugly is if your dog gets attacked or gets involved in some sort of pack activity and is the attacker, or bullies another dog, or otherwise learns some social skills that are fun for him and not for anybody else, or he's the recipient of a bad experience. So dog parks, it's kind of a mixed bag. A better thing is to maybe have a couple of dogs that your dog plays well with on a regular basis. And the other thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you are playing with your dog using toys as much, if not more, than your dog plays with other dogs. Because if you only let your dog play with other dogs, and that's the predominant form of exercise and mental and emotional stimulation he gets, he's going to develop a huge dog focus, and he's not going to be as responsive to you. So that is, quite a problem from somebody, for somebody who wants to actually train their dog. So you want to be more important to your dog than other dogs are. So if your dog has a lot of dog focus, then you're going to have to skew your activities towards interactive play with you, the handler. All right, training, which is why we're here. So training is really about learning how to communicate with your dog. It's about creating a common language. Remember, we talked about dogs having body language and people having English or Spanish or Italian or whatever language they have. Basically, we're verbal creatures and they are physical creatures. So we need to learn how to read their body language, and they need to learn how to understand our verbal cues. So you really do need to think of it as each of you learning how to communicate with the other, rather than I'm here to teach my dog how to listen to me. You're going to get a lot more benefit from one than the other. It is a two-way street. Having verbal cues is very handy, but that is difficult for your dog to learn, and you want to respect the fact that it's a complex process for your dog. We're going to learn how to use body language to teach your dog verbal cues, and we want you to understand your dog's vocalizations as well. In Bull Breed Basics class, one of the reasons we have a special class is because there are some really unfortunate stereotypes associated with the bully breeds. So you, as an owner or guardian of a bully breed, you're starting from a slight disadvantage in that there is a lot of negative public perception about bully breeds. One is about, their temperament, just the name, bully breed. We have learned and we know that it's based on their ancestry. It's not about their temperament, but, the common public doesn't necessarily know that. There's a lot of breed bans that have been put into effect throughout different cities in the United States that ban certain breeds. And, pit bulls have been one of the more popular ones in the past decade to be banned. And it's can be very unfair, and it's not an enforceable situation. So it's important that you teach your dog to be an ambassador for the breed to overcome some of the negative stereotypes that have been associated with the bully type breeds. The bull and bully breed came from early unfortunate activities that people use dogs in, where they would be using the dogs to bait bulls or bait bears. So, bull turned into the whole bully thing. But many bully breeds are known to be quite lovely with children and people. Some of them have a harder time with dogs, particularly some of the pit bulls if they come from lines that have been used for fighting in the past. So try and get to know the parents of your dog so that you know what to expect in terms of your dog's temperament and social skills. So we are going to work with positive reinforcement training, which basically means that we are going to elicit or capture behaviors that we like. We're going to give the dog something that he finds to be rewarding. And if we reward the behaviors that we like, then that increases the probability that they'll happen again. But it's really important that whatever we use to reward the dog has to be rewarding to the dog, as opposed to us thinking, well, this should be rewarding to you. For example, touch is a great example. Sometimes it's very rewarding to dogs, but other times it's not. And we would all like our dogs to do things just because we ask them to, but that is really relationship, and that's something you have to work on and develop. So positive reinforcement training is a really good way to get a great start on developing a super relationship. So think about some things that might be rewarding to your dog that aren't necessarily dog treats. Water, or access to another dog, or going through the front door. So just take some time and observe your dog and figure out what matters to your dog, and then see if you can use that to align your dog's interests with your own. So there is something called reinforcement history, and you want to have a very positive reinforcement history. However, life does happen. You never know when your person is going to stuff you into a Halloween costume, or maybe get you signed up for some unwanted veterinary procedure, or even give you a bath after you've gotten in the mud. Your dog could perceive all of these things as negative, which can potentially damage your relationship. However, if you have a sufficiently large positive reinforcement history with your dog, then he's going to be able to cope with and excuse your behavior for some of these other things that he might consider to be more negative. The rough rule of thumb is you want to have 5 times more positive experiences than negative experiences with your dog in regards to certain things. So bear that in mind the next time you stuff your dog into a Halloween costume. That he is putting up with this because on the whole, you've been a pretty good person. So we also use something called a marker word bridge. And what that means is that human beings tend to be abysmally slow in terms of responding to behaviors. So in order for the dog to understand that they've done something good, the reward needs to be almost instantaneous to the behavior. And that's actually quite difficult to do. So let's say you were using a cookie, you ask your dog to sit, that cookie would have to hit the dog's mouth the instant the butt hit the ground. And it's just not realistic, particularly when we start working on off-leash and distance skills. So we create something that's called a bridge. And I'll give you an example of a human type of bridge. A bridge for us, a financial bridge for us, is writing a check. It's not the same as cash, but it's just as good as cash, assuming the person always pays up. So we're going to create a word that says, yes, that thing you just did, that is what I want, and that's what earned the reward. So you can have a word, and or you could use a clicker. There's a picture of a couple clickers here, and we'll talk about clickers in just a second. But basically, the word you want word to be one syllable, like yes or good or fine. So a one syllable word. And then you need to teach the dog that that word means they've earned a treat or a cookie, just like a check. So a clicker is basically just a tool. It was originally, I think, a child's cheap kind of noisemaker toy that dog trainers, well, actually, it was wild animal trainers and marine mammal trainers started using them to become more popular, to use the click as the bridge instead of a word, and that is fine too. The negative about the clicker is that it's just another piece of equipment that you've got to manage and hold on to. The positive about the clicker is that it is always consistent, and it can be easier to improve your timing using a clicker. And timing is critical. You need to say that marker word the instant the behavior that you like happens, right? So the dog sits, yes. And then you can take your time about getting the cookie because you've marked the behavior. So the biggest piece of homework that you're going to have out of this orientation, and this is mission critical, is that you need to choose and load a marker word. So we're going to show you a video on how to do that. And it's really important that you do this and practice this several times before you come to class, and that you become proficient with it as well. So we're going to show you a couple different things for either using a word or a clicker, and you want to choose the word and then load it. And the video will show you how to load it.
Timing is crucial when teaching an animal a new behavior. In order to properly capture the instant the desired behavior occurs, we create a marker word which bridges the time between when the animal gives the behavior and when the treat or toy, reinforcer, is actually delivered. A marker should be a single word of one syllable, like yes, yep, good. Well, you get the idea. Notice how the dog's tail starts wagging as soon as he hears the marker word. With some treats in a pocket or a treat bag, say yes, and then move your hand to get the treat. Do not move your hand first. Note that the reward begins the instant you mark the behavior and doesn't end until the reward is concluded. Now that's a nice long reward. Timing is crucial when teaching an animal a new behavior. In order to properly capture the instant the desired behavior occurs, we create a clicker noise, which bridges the time between when the animal gives the behavior and when the treat or toy, reinforcer, is actually delivered. A clicker is readily available, inexpensive plastic dog training tool. Notice how the dog's tail starts wagging as soon as he hears the clicker? With some treats in a pocket or a treat bag, click and then move your hand to get the treat. Do not move your hand first. Note that the reward begins the instant you click the behavior and doesn't end until the reward is concluded. Now that is a nice long reward.
So attention is really important. It's one of the first things that we're going to work on training, because if you can't get your dog's attention, it hardly matters what you say after. So getting your dog's attention is huge. And it's really about your connection with the dog, your ability to communicate, and offered attention. So a couple of different things. You might ask for your dog's attention by saying your dog's name, which is fine. As soon as the dog turns his head and looks at you, you would say yes or whatever your marker word is and reward them. So that is asking for attention that you then reinforce. Or you might be walking along and your dog's walking nicely at your side and he just happens to look up at you. He offers your attention and he's doing something nice that you like. So you would mark and reward that even though you didn't ask for the behavior. In order to reward a behavior, it doesn't have to be something that you have asked for. It just has to be something that you like and you'd like to see again. So we have a couple of videos to show you about working on attention and rewarding it. So these are also parts of your homework for from this orientation, and they are kind of going to be expected to have been done by the time you reach class. So have at it. Find it. Milo, yes.
The Yayu exercise utilizes the Find It game to teach your dog to pay attention or look at you when you call his name. Getting your dog's attention is a key skill. Say find it and toss the treat several feet away. Immediately after he picks it up and eats the treat, call his name. He should turn his head to look at you as he reorientates to the handler. Mark the head turn behavior with a yes or click or whatever you like to use. Now you owe him a reward, and you can deliver it in the form of a find it in the opposite direction.
Another really useful and easy foundation behavior is called find it. And it is basically you take a cookie and you move it across your dog's field of vision, you toss it on the ground and you say find it. And as soon as your dog picks it up, he should reorient to you and come back to you, in which case you can send to find it in another direction. Find it is useful for connecting with your dog. So we're going to use it as the very first exercise probably when you come into class, because it's easy and rewarding and it provides an opportunity for you to connect with your dog. You can use it to redirect your dog. Let's say he is thinking about barking at the neighbor's cat. You can say find it and redirect him away from the cat using a find it behavior. Find it is a good alternative behavior if you don't want him to be doing what he's currently doing. So let's say you know that if you walk up to him, he's going to jump up. So maybe you proactively send him into a find it. Find it can also create space. If he's too close to something and you think that he is going to react or be stressed out by it, you can send a find it away from whatever it is he's worried about so that you don't have to tug him away on the leash and create some opposition reflex by pulling on his leash. A cookie scatter is another great thing. It can be useful. For example, let's say your dog jumps up on you when you walk in the door. Maybe what you do is you have a handful of small cookies, you walk in the door, you scatter them on the ground, and then you walk on past. Your dog's behavior is redirected to picking up the cookie scatter rather than jumping on you. Find it is also the foundation skill for an off-leash recall. Now, every time you practice a find it, you might not realize it, but you are, in fact, working on a safe recall. So we have some homework for you for the behavior of find it. And don't get stressed about the homework. They're all very short exercises that are quite easy. So, don't get stressed. Just dive in and do it.
Find it is a very simple exercise that has many useful applications. Let your dog nibble on a treat and then introduce some movement so that your dog can easily follow it. Once he is following the treat, toss it on the ground a couple of feet away. He should pick up and eat the treat and reorientate to you because, hey, that was fun. As he comes back, get his attention on the second treat and repeat in the other direction. As your dog becomes more proficient, label the behavior, find it, before you toss the treat.
Your dog may or may not already sit, but sit is important because we're going to use sit to make sure that you know how to lure a dog. Luring means that you take a treat and you use the treat to manipulate the dog's body. So for example, in the sit, the dog might be nibbling the treat, and as he nibbles the treat, you slowly raise your hand, which makes him lift his head, which makes his butt go down. So you can lure a sit. Then we're going to teach you how to have a hand signal as well as a verbal cue to get the behavior. And then what we add is duration. So how long should your dog sit? Well, until you tell him he's done. And then we're going to, lastly, we'll add distance so that your dog might be 20 or 30 feet away and you can ask him to sit from there. This isn't all going to be accomplished in one 6-week class, but we are going to give you the foundation skills and hope that you continue on with us to family dog 2, 3, 4, 5, and sometimes even 6. So we do have some homework for you on sit. And again, your dog might already know it, but still do the homework because we want you to learn how to do proper luring technique because we're going to use it for other behaviors.
Using a mat and your find it behavior, we can work on luring a sit. Toss a treat away from the mat, have another treat ready in your hand, and go to the opposite side of the mat. As your dog returns, place the treat right next to his nose. This is called a cookie magnet, by the way. Yes. And slightly lift your hand up to help his rear end into a sit position. When his rear hits the mat, mark it with a yes and give him a treat. You can also give him several more treats while he is sitting to build some duration. Release your dog using both a verbal cue and follow up with a little body movement away. Repeat. Once you're sure that your dog will sit as you lure him, you can label the behavior sit.
Okay. Another thing that we're going to use, and it's an important foundation skill, are stationing behaviors. They're also sometimes called place behaviors because they create a place for your dog to be. So we have 3 of them that we use quite a bit throughout our training program are a mat. You can see the little black and white mixed breed dog is on his mat, and a platform is the brown mixed breed dog is on his platform, and then our silver Belgian Tervuren is on his mark bucket. So these are all stationing behaviors, and we can use them for a wide variety of things. You would be amazed at how many things we use these behaviors for. So be prepared to learn about these things. We can use them as foundation skills for teaching advanced behaviors, or if you have multiple dogs, you can just use them to say, you go here, you go there, and you go there. So stationing behaviors are going to be important, and we're going to give you some homework to start teaching your dog how to come to his mat and lay down when you ask him to.
Let's start teaching your dog to go to his bed using a non-slip bed or bath mat. Luring your dog onto the mat using a treat right by his nose. Reward him in place several times, then toss a treat to the other side of the mat. Your dog should pick up the treat, reorientate, and return to you. Make sure he has to cross the mat in order to return. As the dog crosses the mat, mark or click when his feet are on the mat, then give him a cookie. Repeat this process. Mark training starts with teaching your dog or puppy to put his 2 front feet up on a mark bucket or other easy-to-use objects. The dog's job is to stay in position until otherwise cued. You can't really start too soon. Mark or other stationing training is especially useful in multiple dog households as each dog knows what to do until it's his turn. This reduces anxiety and frustration. Mark or other stationing behaviors help provide clarity and structure both in day-to-day life and in training sessions. This little guy is off to a fine start.
All right, so what do you need to bring to class in terms of equipment? You should bring a mat or a bed. One thing that's really easy to use as a mat is, a bath mat that has a rubber non-skid backing. That's kind of nice. It's easy to roll up and carry. Please bring a water bowl. We will provide water, but if you want to bring your own water, you can do that too. But if not, we will provide water. Unless you're on an off-site class, but for this class, we'll have water. Have your dog on a 6-foot leash. Anything shorter makes it difficult to drop the leash and stand on it and do hands-free exercises. You might want to have a tab collar, which is basically a very, very short leash so that you can just grab that instead of grabbing his collar. Know what your marker word is or bring a clicker. Have your dog on a flat collar with his ID. And you might have other gear like harnesses. So certainly bring whatever you're using to walk your dog so that we can take a look at what you're using and make sure it's fitted correctly. And then just bring your open mind and happy attitude about learning some new stuff. All right, treats. So we do use a lot of treats in our dog training classes. Treats aren't the only thing that you can use to train your dog, nor are they the only thing you should use. However, they're the best thing to use in a group of other dogs because toys can get a little bit out of hand. And you get a lot of repetitions with using treats. And you can use treats to modulate your dog's intensity and arousal levels. So using toys brings them up. So toys are great rewards for high energy behaviors like recalls. And food treats are a great reward for impulse control behaviors such as sit, down, and stand. At any rate, your dog will get a lot of treats. We recommend that you have your dog skip or reduce breakfast. I know it's hard for some of you guys to skip your dog's breakfast, but believe me, he's going to get plenty of food. So your treats, soft treats are better than hard crunchy treats. Light colored have the advantage when we do find it or reward from the floor. It's good to have a variety or multiple types of treats, and they should be bite-sized because, again, your dog's getting quite a few of them. You should also bring a toy, and, toys are developmental. For those of us who had children, there were all kinds of developmental toys. And it's true, same for dogs. So these toys that I'm showing here are basically kind of beginner toys because they're soft, they're fun to bite, and they have a lot of movement. So these toys are designed to motivate. If you want to teach your dog to give up the toy, then sometimes we'll use other toys, or the stick toy on the bottom is pretty good. And these are for tugging and chasing and all kinds of fun things. But you can use play, well, you can, and I recommend that you should, use play to reward just like you would with food. In fact, for dogs who are so inclined, you can get a much better obedience performance from toys than food. Conversely, some dogs are very, very food motivated and you'll get a better performance from food. But you want to have the option to use both because you'll just have a bigger, more variety in your toolbox. All right, paraphernalia. Treat bags. You might want to have a treat bag, or you may just want to have a vest with pockets. Either way, you're going to want to have some way to have your treats accessible, but not in your dog's face. You also might want to bring a stuffed Kong or a chew toy for downtime. There's going to be times when we'll be doing the human thing and having a dialogue, which dogs in class tend to find terribly boring. And you may even want to bring a snuffle mat that we talked about earlier. So just bring something for him to do in addition to a food storage system for yourself. All right, let's just summarize what we've got going on. So your homework to be done prior to class is the crate training exercise, the tug and play exercise, choosing and loading your marker word or the clicker. And frankly, this is the most important. Number 3 is mission critical. Teach offered attention. The name game is another attention game. Find it, sit, and reward on mat. So those are your homework exercises. And in terms of what you can expect after class, as you can expect to get a summary outline about what we covered during class. You may get some detailed links to handouts, which go into a lot more depth about some of the behaviors that we are going through so that you can see what the next step is or just have a written explanation of how to do the behaviors. We will be sending video links out to show you how to do certain behaviors correctly, much like you've gotten some video links in this orientation, and homework. And again, you know, there's just no getting around it. In order to progress, and to be satisfied with what you're getting out of class, you need to practice. It's important. That's our pro tip, practice. Multiple short sessions daily and routine use of management tools. So, you know, if you have a puppy and you did 4 15-minute play sessions, that would be great. And if you did, 3 10-minute training sessions in a day, that would be great. So you don't have to carve out an hour to do something. The older the dog, the longer the sessions can be for both exercise and training. Alrighty, so after Family Dog 1 or Bull Breed Basics, because Bull Breed Basics is a Family Dog 1 class with just a added breed emphasis for some of the behaviors that the bully breeds like to do that cause trouble. Again, you can continue on in Family Dog 2 through 5, and again, sometimes we make it all the way up to 6. There's Rally Obedience, Tricks class. We have an outdoor series of trail manners. We do have an animal assisted therapy program. You need to graduate from Family Dog 3 to go into that, but we have Your Dog to Share, which is taking your dog to facilities to interact with sick or elderly folks, or share a book where you're reading to children and your dog is there. And you may need to consult us on behavior modification issues because our training class really addresses certain trained behaviors as opposed to digging into a specialized behavior problem your dog might have. But your instructor can give you some more information on that. We also have private lessons. Some dogs are not appropriate for and don't do very well in group lessons, so private lessons might be the way for some people to go. We also have a pretty robust sport dog program. We have a scenting nose work program, which is great for those of you guys who have dogs who are really into sniffing and finding things. It's also a great activity for older dogs. We have agility and we have flyball classes. So if you have very, very active dogs who love toys, agility or flyball might be for you. All right, that's it. Thank you for spending your time with us. And you will bring your dog to the first week of class. And we're looking forward to meeting you and your dog. And we hope that you guys are as excited as we are.